Everybody says you get what you pay for, but when it comes to power stations, is that actually true? Because today you can buy a 3 kilowatt hour power station for around $850, or you can spend over $2,000 on one with the same capacity. So what are you actually paying for? Are you actually paying for something that is better, or are you paying for features that you'll never use? Here's the thing, we have 4 power stations behind us. They all have the same battery capacity of 3,072 watt hours, and they're all marketed to do the exact same thing. So what are you really paying for? Is there a big difference between a $2,000 power station and a $850 power station? And if there is, which one will be the better buy for you? Honestly, I think there's 2 very clear winners in this video, the Anker F3000 and the Pecron F3000, but for completely different reasons. And I know you guys love Jackery and EcoFlow, so we threw in the EcoFlow Delta 3 Ultra Plus and the Jackery Explorer 3000 Pro. And that's basically just to give a good comparison between most of the name brands. Before we jump into this video, all the products we name in this video are going to be in the description, as well as any discount codes that we can get you from these companies to save you guys some money. If at the end of this video you don't end up liking these power stations or they just don't fit your needs, you can go take our power station quiz over on thesolarlab.com. It's going to give you a tailored recommendation of a power station that is going to fit your lifestyle. With that being said, let's jump right into this video. One thing you'll notice about all of these power stations is the software. They all advertise their apps and how good they are. If you've been watching the Solar Lab for any amount of time, you'll know that Anker's apps and EcoFlow's apps are literally the best in the industry, and because of that, other brands are following suit. They all have live monitoring, you can turn the power station on and off remotely, they have UPS settings, they have charge settings, and all of that great stuff. Now, Pecron has created an app where you can do all of those things, albeit it's not the most polished app, but it's still there and it works as it should. For me personally, I'm just someone who sets my charge limits and updates my firmware, and then I kind of just set it and forget it. So for me, I don't use the app a lot. So if having the best app is worth it to you and you like having all of those features, it might be worth spending the extra couple of $100. But in my experience and how I use power stations, to me, it just doesn't really matter. One thing that the more expensive brands usually do is spend their money on R&D and just the overall build quality of their product. And honestly, that's one of the first thing you notice when you get your hands on any power station is just the build quality of it. Take the Anker F3000 for example. When you pick it up, you can tell that it's just built well with quality in mind. The plastics feel thick, the handles are solid, and the whole thing just feels rugged. It gives you the confidence that if you did accidentally drop it, you'd only end up with a few scratches and scuffs rather than cracking the whole housing. Now, when you compare that to something like the Jackery Explorer 3000 Pro, it's kind of a different story. Even though it is one of our expensive units, it does just feel worse to me. Despite being called the Explorer, the plastics are thinner and they kind of feel hollow, and it just doesn't feel that it was able to take abuse. Even the little things stand out on the Jackery. The input flap on the back is stiff, it's awkward to open, and it hurts your fingers after a while when you're trying to open it. And honestly, these are small details, but they're the kind of things you notice every single time you go to use the products. And then there is the overall user experience. On the Anker, for example, you have 4 plugs that are all rotated a different way, so if you wanted to plug in a bunch of bulky power bricks, they're not fighting for room. Where on the Jackery, if you try to do that same thing, they're not spaced out properly, they're not even turned, so these power bricks are going to be fighting for space. These are little design decisions that don't show up on a spec sheet, but when you go to use these products every single day, they do make a difference. Now, when it comes to the Pecron, you do get what you pay for. It obviously does not feel as premium as the Anker would. The plastics aren't as refined, and honestly, the overall fit and finish just aren't on the same level. But it still gives you almost all of the same plugs, ports, and functionality as some of the more expensive ones. So while it may not feel like a luxury product, you're still paying hundreds of dollars less than something that can accomplish many of the same jobs. Another thing that almost never gets talked about is the handles and the wheels. It sounds like such a small thing, but it makes a big difference when you realize that some of these power stations are 70 to 100 pounds. If you're only moving it once a year, who cares? But it becomes a bigger deal when you're going camping, loading it in the truck, or just moving it around during outages. Honestly, I think Anker has nailed this. With their handle, you just click on the button and it has kind of a spring-loaded system that pops right up, making it super easy to grab. It feels solid, the wheels are big, and the whole thing kind of rolls just like a good suitcase. It just feels like someone spent time on kind of what it feels like to move this thing around. Jackery, on the other hand, not so much. It does have wheels and a telescoping handle, but it doesn't have that spring assist. And honestly, I don't think it's a big deal if you had the Jackery by itself. When you're comparing it to the competitors' power stations that are in the same realm, and they have spring assist and the Jackery doesn't, and they're the exact same price, like it just doesn't really make sense. EcoFlow kind of lands somewhere in the middle. The wheels are good, the handle is solid, and I don't really have any complaints. But when I'm thinking, comparing it to the Anker, I just think the Anker is built better. Now, when we move over to the Pecron, this is one of the trade-offs that you get for just saving a few $100. There's no wheels and there's no telescoping handle. If you're only carrying it from the garage to your camper or from the truck to the campsite, it's probably fine. But if you're moving it around a lot, you're carrying around 70 plus pounds all the time, or you're gonna buy a dolly to put it on. It's not a deal breaker, but it is something you should think about and that you should budget for if portability is something that is important to you. So now let's talk about the 30 amp RV plug. I see a lot of companies using this as a selling point. Every single power station we're looking at today has a built-in 30 amp outlet. Whether you're spending $850 on the Pecron or over $2,000 on the EcoFlow, you're still getting that same outlet. So if you're buying one of these just because it does have that 30 amp plug, don't. That is not what separates these products anymore. At this point, it's become a standard feature on a lot of 3000 watt hour power stations. Now, that being said, only the Delta 3 Ultra Plus and the Pecron F3000 are true 30 amp plugs. And that's because they have 3600 watts of output. The Jackery has an output of 3000 watts, and it sucks because you can't use that full 30 amp plug. Another thing to think about is the expandable batteries. This is one feature that you can actually justify spending your hard-earned money on, depending on how you plan on using your power station. If you think that there's even a chance of needing more capacity in the future, expansion batteries are something to look out for. Instead of buying another power station or replacing your current one, you can buy a couple of expansion batteries. You can double, triple, or even quadruple your runtime. The EcoFlow Delta 3 Ultra Plus, the Anker F3000, and the Pecron F3000 all give you that option to expand, so your system can grow with your needs. The Jackery Explorer 3000 Pro, on the other hand, is not expandable. What you buy today is what you're gonna have for the life of the unit. For some people, that is completely fine. 3 kilowatt hours is more than enough, but if you're looking for a home backup system and you think that you might need more power in the future, I would probably go with something that has expandable batteries so you don't have to go buy a whole nother power station down the road. Customer support is another area where you think spending more money is going to get you better service. But in our experience, that hasn't always been the case. Companies like Anker have been around a long time. They have large support teams, service centers, and they've built a reputation of taking care of their customers. If something goes wrong, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be able to get someone on the phone and get a replacement pretty quickly. EcoFlow, on the other hand, are one of the most expensive, or the most expensive in this comparison, and we've had the worst time dealing with them. So having spent the most amount of money doesn't actually guarantee the best service. Now, if we were making this video a couple of years ago, Pecron probably wouldn't even be in this conversation. Their customer support definitely had room for improvement. But I have to give credit where credit is due. They have stepped up their game in a very big way. Over the past year or so, we've had to reach out to them a couple of times, and every experience has been positive. They're responding faster, they're actually listening to customer feedback, and they're doing a really good job at standing behind their products. Are they on the same level as Anker? Maybe not quite yet, but they're moving in the right direction and a lot faster than people might realize. If customer support has been the one thing that's keeping you away from Pecron, honestly, I don't think it's as big of a problem as it used to be. After spending time with all of these power stations, I think it comes down to one simple question. What are you actually paying for? If all you need is a power station to power your fridge, have in your RV, or just take camping, I think that a cheaper power station makes a very strong case for itself. They still have the same battery capacity, they still have the same 30 amp outlet, and they're still going to be able to power your appliances just like the expensive ones. Where the premium brands start to justify their price is everything else. The build quality feels nicer, the apps are more polished, the wheels and handles are nicer, the software is more refined, and the overall user experience just feels more premium. These are the little things that you might not think about when you're shopping for a power station, but you'll definitely notice after a little while of just using them. But are these features worth paying an extra $500 to $1,000 more for? For some people, absolutely. If you are actually going to use those features, you're probably going to appreciate them every single day. But if you're the kind of person that just wants reliable backup power and doesn't really care about having the fanciest app and the nicest wheels, I'd have a really hard time telling you to spend all that extra money. At the end of the day, don't buy the most expensive power station just because it's the most expensive. Buy the one that's going to have the features that you're going to actually use, because sometimes saving yourself $1,000 is the smartest upgrade that you can make and gives you flexibility to add more solar panels, extra batteries, or anything else that you might need. With all that being said, it really comes down to your use cases. Honestly, we haven't had many problems with the Pecron products we've tried. We did have one issue with a Pecron F1000. It was basically an issue between the BMS and the inverter. They couldn't fix it remotely, but we called them, not telling them that it was us, and they were like more than willing just to give us another power station. So they do have pretty good support, and that has been the only case that we've ever had an issue with Pecron. So other than that, they have been great. If I were going to go build a cabin myself, then the Pecron F3000 was what I would use. To the same token, if you're going to use this thing all the time, like moving it, not having those handles and wheels on a job site or on a campsite is going to get old really quickly. As always, we'll have links in the description as well as any discount codes that we can get you from any of these companies we mentioned to save you guys some money. Now, if none of these power stations fit your needs, then you can take our power station quiz on thesolarlab.com. It's going to give you a quick tailored recommendation of a power station that's going to fit your lifestyle. That's all we got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Peace out and stay charged.